get off your soapbox, let's talk about the love story.
Yes,
because
which is 80%.
Which is 80%, and like the way you keep plugging that. You think that will sell more books, is it?
No, I think I don't want people to believe that I've written a column.
So let's talk about the love story. What I find interesting in this book, and perhaps in some of your other books also, is that your protagonists, who are all men, seem to fall in love very hard, isn't it? And take very hard knocks, and that sort of becomes a motivator for a lot of things they do in life, isn't it?
Anuradha, you'll never understand.
Do men fall in love that deeply?
Yes, they do. We are very.
Come on.
See, all you modern feminist women feel that you are the ones suffering and men don't, and like in this, one of the differences in this versus the other love stories is there's a competitiveness of love. There's a triangle, and it's one of the things which women often don't notice is the wrong signaling they give. So, for example,
but is it wrong signaling, which is what you try and suggest in Revolution 2020, or are men just dumb when they, and they choose to keep hoping and keep believing even when the signals are all clear to read?
So, one of the situations in the book is the girl says, I like you very much, you're my best friend, but I'm not interested in anything. I don't see you in as a partner. But then when he's going to Kota, she personally goes and buys utensils for him and packs for him and says,
people can be friends without falling in love. Do men get that?
Now, when Anusha, my wife, read that, then she said, it's obvious she has made her stance clear, but she cares for him. And I show it to any guy and says, leading me on, this stupid bitch. She's leading her on. She's leading the guy on. She's being a tease. Now, this has not come in my earlier stories, and this is very common because I think in India, the concept of love itself, pan-India, is new. The concept that you find a partner and fall in love is maybe 10-20 years old.
True.
And people don't know how.
And men are not, and the Indian man, the average Indian man is not equipped to cope.
So either,
is that what you're saying?
Yes, either they get arranged marriages or when they fall in love,
they have a very, very rough time.
They just don't know how to deal with the feelings. If they don't know that the subtleties, women are very subtle in their signals. She will call and ask him, have you eaten your dinner? Now, that is a very big deal for men. That is a very, very big deal. If a girl is checking at night, have you eaten? It's a very Indian motherly thing to do.
I think Chetan, your next book project should be a primer. How to cope with love post economic liberalization by Chetan Bhagat for the Indian man. Is that something that's coming up?
Maybe a workshop or something. I mean, I think like you have a quota. You need a quota for studying for IIT. You need I'll maybe make a town called the Romance University, and people can come there, and there are people abroad who do this actually. But I do want to tell very simply the men out there that take the signaling properly. When a girl says no, it is usually no. I mean, it's not yes.
Yeah, and when she says yes, it's very clear.
It's very clear. Girls have become very clear these days. You can just ask, and you don't have to. It's also coming from our films where she will resist, and the hero will fight, and it's not like that. Women will express interest very quickly these days.
Talking about films, this book, like your other books, to me seems like the story for a film. I can see it. I can think of who I would want to cast in it. Now, you had two experiences in movies. One, the film was a flop, Hello. At that time, you told me that, film is a collaborative effort, and even if the story is good, you need the best talent around it. You need an A-team. With Three Idiots, which was based on 5 Point Someone, you had an A-team, and then you lost the A-team because of this question of credits. Many people who read the book, like I have, will agree with what you said, which is that movie could not have existed without your story, and so the story credit was yours. Having said that, do you think, given the kind of success it was, it would have just benefited you to go with the flow even if you didn't get the credit that you did deserve? Because you may now not work with that kind of A-team again, and maybe that's the highest success any of your stories would have in the film industry.
It was not a very class act to do. Let me be very honest, that you confront and, but when someone is, they started calling me names first, and when someone is wrongly accused, let alone not getting the credit, but being called a publicity seeker while you have made such a big movie on your story, it didn't seem fair. from my point of view, I am acknowledging that it wasn't a very class act. It's not my style. I don't do it that way in my columns, in my books. I've never quoted controversy.
And in hindsight, do you feel that you have closed
no, there is no
channel between that particular A team and your stories?
Well, it's I don't know about working together, but I have at least I asked Raju once. We were at events, so I went back home and I SMSed him that what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to frown at each other? Are we supposed to look the other way? Because there may be, let's have a protocol. You don't want awkward moments. It's like exes, it's a bit like how are we supposed to behave? So, we agreed that we can greet each other and say hello, and I think things are at neutral gear. Because ultimately even they realize that, Chetan contributed. They can't take that away, and everybody in the country knows. It hasn't really affected my scene in Bollywood. My Three Mistakes rights have been sold to Excel Entertainment, which is a very A-list house. 2 states is with Sajid Nadyadwala, very A-list house. This one hasn't released. I have offers, and frankly, if Bollywood is not defining me anymore, I don't need it. I have my own. I mean, this is coming out with the 5 lakh first day orders, which is almost the same. The kind of business it will do is same as a movie.
For you, writing is a means to an end. You have certain ideas you want to communicate, and you're headed towards, communicating that and hoping to effect change, right? I've always wondered if at some point you will move into politics, because that's what change agents end up doing or get co-opted into doing. Earlier this year, at an awards function, you made a statement which seemed to suggest that you felt the Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi would be relevant at a national stage. Is that endorsement for the BJP? Are you somebody we will see, maybe on a BJP ticket or on a party role or anything like that? Because, even some of your criticism, some of your articles, whether it is the most recent one you wrote, your columns in Times of India, about the minority, while it sounds very practical and common sense, it also moves towards the right, isn't it, in terms of the view of the way minorities are treated and live in India?
It moves towards the right, but it doesn't move towards the BJP. I think it is a right secular article. I'm addressing it. Why am I addressing the minorities? It is, it is a right. Right doesn't equate to BJP equals to saffron equals to RSS equal to communic.
You don't think so?
I know. Okay. Right wing across the world is a side of politics that is very practical.
What about that statement or comment you made to Narendra Modi on that platform?
See, I'll tell you what my political ideology is, and what I think everybody in India should have is: do not bind yourself to one party ever. Your floating vote is much more powerful than if you say, I am committed to voting for you for the rest of my life. Then they will take you for granted only, and that is what has happened. In fact, that's what I was arguing in that column. You have to keep your vote floating. I want to reserve the right to criticize the BJP when I have to, and I have. In my columns, I said, give a goodbye Teddy to Yedi long back, and I said this will harm the BJP so much that they don't even know it, and then they finally had to let him go 6 months later. I want the two parties to have a good contest. I want boxing ring to have two very strong opponents when the elections come, because that's what's going to get the most for citizens. If it's a one-sided contest.
What about your endorsement for Narendra Modi? Because that is what that comment got seen as, isn't it?
It's not an endorsement. I just said, if you are so good in Gujarat, why don't you come on national stage? What is the endorsement?
And so good in Gujarat, you're talking about the development
because
and the economic prosperity
and
not the human rights violations that he's accused of.
Yeah, and I have written in columns about it. He has to, 6 months back I said, he has to seek forgiveness. He has to atone. Now, some of it has happened, that he's tried to do it, but I will criticize something about that right now. So to make it very clear, when you seek forgiveness, you can't be grandiose about it. When you are seeking atonement, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Look, I am asking for forgiveness. Look how great I am. That is not the way.
So you are saying categorically that you don't see yourself in a political career or on a political platform, and definitely not the BJP as we speak in 2011?
Yes. With the BJP, with Congress, with anybody, I'm shocked that people feel that what will I gain by getting a ticket and becoming an MP? I will gain
power.
None. What power? Power to abuse, Power I have already. I have influence, which is much more, Mahatma
Effective
Gandhi
than
had
power.
no power. Vivekananda had no power. And these are people we remember even today. The influence matters. I have God's
Chetan,
gift.
I hope the influence that you feel so strongly about continues. Thank you very much for
Thank
another
you.
lovely conversation.
It is
All the
a love
best
story,
to
I'm telling you right
Revolution
now.
2020.
Okay.